G'day, it's Gus Walland here from Gotcha for Life and Triple M. I'd love to invite you along to the Mental Fitness Gym. Go to the mentalfitnessgym.org. That is a place where you can pick up some exercises to build your mental fitness, to work on that emotional muscle, those muscles in your head that are so powerful. Please come and join us at the mentalfitnessgym.org for all that stuff to build your emotional muscle and your mental fitness.
The Paracave Podcast, proudly brought to you by major sponsor Jack's Pale Ale, exclusively available at Parramatta Leisure Club, Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty, BTZD Clothing, and the official media partner of the Paracave Podcast, the Parramatta Times.
Welcome to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And now over to your host, Troy Warner, broadcasting live from the world-famous Paracave.
And yes, hello and welcome back to another episode of the Paracave Podcast. And this is the Round 24 review of the Parramatta Eels, who took on the Sydney Roosters at Allianz Stadium. And tell you what about the stadium? A $800 million plus stadium, and it was waterlogged, and there was puddles everywhere. And look, what's your thoughts on that stadium on Friday night? I mean, apparently I wasn't there, so it was a bit of a downfall that happened. A deluge of rain that happened in a short period of time. Don't know whether it was 10, 20 minutes or whatever of rain, but certainly it just waterlogged the ground, and players were slipping and sliding. And very early on in the game anyway, there was a lot of handling errors from both sides, which was natural because these days teams don't necessarily play in those sort of conditions. The grounds these days are very well equipped with water. Unfortunately, though, Allianz didn't cope with it. We did see in a rugby game earlier on this year, I don't know whether it was a Super Rugby competition as well, but the same thing that happened. They were playing and they were even worse conditions at Allianz Stadium. They were really waterlogged in that one. Can't remember if it was raining at the time of the game, but certainly on Friday night, look, it brought back some great memories for myself, playing in the rain and playing on slippery fields, waterlogged fields, playing in puddles and the like. It actually brought back a memory of a sort of a backyard footy game, but it wasn't a backyard footy game. It was a game that mates and I had out at Mulgoa Park one day. It was during a time where we were just having a lot of rain, and the Mulgoa Park was the same as Allianz Stadium on Friday night. There was water everywhere, and we just love playing in the rain and great conditions. But look, for the amount of money that was spent on that stadium, surely they have to look into how that drainage system works at the ground, because, to be honest, for that amount of money, we probably shouldn't be playing in conditions like that. There was the earlier game at Brookvale Oval between Manly and the Warriors, and it also copped a bit of rain as well, but that ground didn't look as bad as Allianz Stadium did. So something has gone wrong there, but I'm sure the relative people involved will be looking at how it doesn't happen again, because, as I mentioned, it happened in that rugby game earlier on this year. And look, it could be just like a freak of nature that happens from time to time, but for the amount of money that taxpayers have spent on that stadium, it probably shouldn't look like that for a NRL game. Anyway, to the game, and the Roosters got the victory, 38 points to 14. It was 7 tries to 3 to the Roosters, so they retain the Jack Gibson Cup. So congratulations to them. There was a little bit of silverware on offer on Friday night, and if you caught my Instagram social media, I did a little bit of a reel about Jack Gibson, who played at the Roosters, coached at the Roosters, won 2 premierships there, also coached the Parramatta Eels to 3 premierships in a row, 81, 82, 83. So he has a connection with both clubs, and also the late Chad Robinson as well. He played for the Roosters in the 2003 Grand Final, played for the Parramatta Eels as well, predominantly at the Eels, and the player of the match, who was James Tedesco on this occasion. He won the Chad Robinson medal that was presented by his sister Monique. He won the medal. I think that's his second time that he has won the Chad Robinson medal for player of the match in this game. So congratulations to James Tedesco for winning that one. But as I mentioned, 7 tries to 3. Dom Young, he got a hat trick. Sam Walker, 5 out of 7. Gutho got 1 out of 3. And look, I guess all the damage was done in the first half, wasn't it? Probably the Roosters led 24-4 at halftime. So the Roosters, Parramatta scored their first try 31 minutes in. The Roosters scored 4 converted tries by then, so it was 24-4 at half-time. There was the sin binning of Wiremu Greg in the 14th minute for high contact. Now, it has come out today from the NRL that Wiremu Greg may have played his last game of the season. He's been charged with a Grade 3 careless high tackle on Connor Watson. Now, if Wiremu enters a early plea, he'll get 2 match ban. If he is found guilty and unsuccessfully challenges the charge at the judiciary, he'll face 3 weeks suspension, which will end his season, only because Parramatta have 3 more games in the season to play. So, look, that's pretty disappointing. Also out of the game as well, Clint Gutherson was also charged with dangerous contact on James Tedesco. And also for the Roosters, Victor Radley was charged for a tackle on Sean Lane, but they will be both free to play next week after just being hit with fines. So that first sin binning was in the first half to Wiremu, and in the second half there was one to Brendan Hands as well, 43 minutes in, so just after half time. And look, it probably, I don't know, it looked really it was really disappointing for Brendan to get 10 in the bin, but it was one of those things that could have went either way. Parramatta were apparently awarded a 6 again. The Roosters were ordered a 6 again due to Parramatta for ruck infringement. But then Hands came over the top and laid over the top of, I'm not too sure who was the runner of the ball, but Dylan Brown was making the tackle, and then Hands came over just to try and stop it. I think maybe the conditions made it look worse as well, with Dylan Brown and the run of the ball sliding in the tackle as well. So maybe Hands was thinking he might have slid over the line for a try, who knows. But anyway, he got 10 in the bin, which is unfortunate. Look, it was a perfect start for the Eels, because they got the ball. They off the kickoff, Spencer Leniu, he lost the ball in the tackle, but Parramatta couldn't capitalise on that. And look, it would have been perfect. It would have been the same as last week with Dane Laurie for the Panthers losing the ball in their first tackle of the game, I think it was, last week at Combank Stadium. But on that occasion, Parramatta were able to score the first try in the game. On this occasion, Parramatta weren't, so that was a little bit disappointing that they couldn't capitalise. Spencer Lenu got the first try for the Roosters. Bryce Cartwright, he went high and close to the line, and Lenu's just brushed him off, and he has scored. Look, it almost looked like a little bit of a double movement, but no, that was fine. It was play on. Now, the other big concern for Parramatta, and it has been for a long time, I think, anyway, and probably a lot of other fans would probably agree with me, is their edge defence. Now, the edge defence for Parramatta, it always seems to be a problem, and I think teams know this going into games against Parramatta, and they try and work out a plan to head to the edges. The Roosters' second and third tries, they go to the wingers, Dom Young and Daniel Tupou, just by shifting the ball, creating numbers on the defence of Parramatta, creating space, and getting the try. Admittedly, the try to Dom Young, his first try, was just simple. Again, just running out of numbers, but Joey Manu with the flick pass, I think it was, to Dom Young, who scored in the corner. But Tupou's try was just creating numbers. James Tedesco, again, the Roosters just creating numbers as well. Smart play from Brandon Smith out of dummy half. He created a 4-on-3. Now, there was a little bit to play here. I think Sean Russell, who was the winger for Parramatta, thought the ball was going to Joseph Suaalii. But the ball went to James Tedesco, who went through. I think Will Penasini, he got mixed up in defence. He went for Brandon Smith, and then the ball was passed to Tedesco. And look, as tough a job as it is, because it must be at fullback there, and especially in those conditions as well, Gutho, he missed the tackle missed James Tedesco horribly, and James Tedesco runs away and scores. But as I said, it must be a tough job being a fullback, and especially when someone's running at pace at you to try one-on-one tackles. To get that done. Unfortunately, we have seen Gutho do that in the past, and he has saved tries. Unfortunately, on this occasion, James Tedesco got the better of him. The next try, it was smart vision by Sam Walker. He saw that Gutho was up in the line, and he just gave it a little bit of a short kick, and he got a Satili Tupanua, who's one of my favourite players from an opposition side. I would have liked to have seen him sign at Parramatta. Unfortunately, he's signed for the Bulldogs for next season, so a good pick up for the Bulldogs there. Satili, he scored the try. Sivo, who returned from injury in this game off the bench, he replaced Jake Tungo after the 50th minute. He came up with a great try-saving tackle on James Tedesco after Teddy caught a kick on the full, getting away from Gutho, and then just he went for the try, and Sivo was there and held him up. Unbelievable tackle, that one. So a lot of effort there. But yeah, by that time, all the damage was done. Joey Lussick, Sean Russell got a try for the Eels as well. Joey Lussick, some smart play from him. Saw a bit of a gap, went for it, scored a try in the 79th minute, but the game was well and truly done and done by the Roosters, 38 points to 14 by that stage. So, look, stats for the Parramatta Eels anyway, and I will get to my Parramatta Eels player of the game. And look, Joe Ofahengawi, who I think has improved a lot over the last few weeks. He's becoming a bit of a leader, I think, anyway, in this Parramatta pack. Obviously, Junior Paolo is out injured. RCG is under pressure to be that big man in the pack with Junior out. So I think Joe is really making an impact in this side. He made 45 tackles, RCG 32, Sean Lane 29, Dan Kerr, who has played, I think now, 3 games, I think it is, could be 4. He made 28 tackles, and Bryce Cartwright 26. Run meters, which is always very important, I guess. Gutho, 17 runs, 162 metres. Will Penasini, who I thought wasn't mentioned too much in the commentary, but and probably, again, we haven't seen the best of Will this year, but however, 15 runs, 157 metres. Kelma Tuolagi, 15 runs, 123 metres, and that man again, Joe Ofahengawi, 16 runs, 107 metres. Will Penasini, he did have 2 line breaks though. He led the Eels in line breaks. Kelma had 1. Tackle breaks, that man again, Kelma, 7 tackle breaks. Will 6, Will 7, and Gutho 6 tackle breaks. So when you look at it like that, Will had an okay game. Didn't have an outstanding game for the Eels. Now, for me, my overall player of the game in terms of Eels, in terms of the Parramatta Eels, was that man, Kelma Tuolagi. He's come back from injury. I think it was a hand injury that he suffered earlier on. So it was his first game back in first grade. 55 minutes, 15 tackles, only missed 2 tackles, 4 offloads, 15 runs, 123 metres, and he also scored Parramatta's first try as well. So I think it was great line running, and he got the ball from Gutho, I think it was, and scored Parramatta's first try. And look, my thoughts anyway, correct me if I'm wrong, but he does remind me of, and especially in the jersey that they wore on Friday night, which is the 2024 heritage jersey that Parramatta have worn a couple of times this season, and it is based on the 2001 jersey. And correct me if I'm wrong, but how much does Kelma Tuolagi look like David Solomona out there when you're watching the game? Former guest on the podcast, David Solomona, he was known for wearing that jersey as well when he was at the time, but also was wearing the headgear as well. I think he had a black headgear on Friday night. Kelma had the blue one on, and it just, the similarities looked a little bit like David Solomona with Kelma out there. So, look, they've got the offloads happening as well, so something that David Solomona was known for in rugby league. So, look, I think he potentially will be fighting for a starting spot next year. And it may even start this weekend as well, because I think he probably deserves that starting spot after this performance against the Roosters on Friday night. Now, looking towards next week, and the Sydney Roosters, they play the Gold Coast Titans. Sorry about that one. 2 p.m. They play the Gold Coast Titans up there on Sunday at Cbus Super Stadium against the Gold Coast. They, the first time this year that they have played each other. Last season, the Roosters got a win, 36 points to 18. So the Roosters will go into this game favourites. They are slowly warming towards September. and finals. They are currently in third position on the ladder, only 2 points behind the Panthers now, and equal on points with the Sharks, with the Bulldogs nipping at their heels. So, very interesting times for those three clubs especially. They, I think, will potentially make up 3, 4 and 5 on the ladder. The Panthers, however, now with Nathan Cleary out for 3 weeks, they can still get the job done against the teams that they are going to play, but it'll be interesting to see. The Roosters, they'll be trying to get that second spot and get a home final, first week of the finals. For Parramatta, they take on the Brisbane Broncos at Suncorp Stadium on Friday, August 23. Now, I will be at that game. I'll be heading up on Friday morning, and I will be attending the Lord Alfred Hotel in Brisbane, Caxton Street. The Eels have a bit of a fans and members event happening there before the game. So hope to see you all there. Come and say good day, and we'll have a chat about Parramatta season. Hopefully it probably won't be too much of a good chat, but it's always great to catch up with the listeners anyway. So I'll be at that game, or if indeed you don't see me at the Lord Alfred, you may see me out and about at Suncorp Stadium. So look, this will be an interesting game as well. The Broncos haven't had their best of seasons. Reece Walsh is out. The Broncos in 10th. They will go into this game favourites. Parramatta, they generally have a good record up in Brisbane. They don't go too badly up there, to be honest. Last year they got a bit of a shellacking at the Gabba last year. I was at that game as well. Maybe I'm the mock. Maybe I shouldn't go to these games, but that's okay. I love going to Brisbane, especially for Magic Round and also for the Broncos game. I love seeing my Queensland Rugby League family up there. They generally do have a good record up in Brisbane. So this will be interesting to see how they go. Look, we'll talk about that one more in the tipping podcast that'll come out probably on Wednesday this week. So that's where that stands. As for their positions on the ladder, the Roosters there on 34 points in third place. The Eels on 16 points in 16th spot. Just 2 points behind are the West Tigers. So they are also nipping at the heels of the Eels as well, and potentially a round 27 Spoon Bowl competition winner will be announced there with the West Tigers if they get a victory. Look, there's for and against as well, but if they jag a win here and before that game, they do have the bye coming up as well. So, they had the bye coming up. They play Manly this week. They have a bye. I think the week before they play Parramatta, and then so that'll elevate them to 16 points, and with both teams on 16 points, the winner of that round 27 game will win this. Will stay away from winning the spoon. The loser will get the wooden spoon. So everyone's calling it Spoon Bowl. That game's out at Campbelltown, but we'll talk about that one in a few weeks' time. So the Eels will desperately want to win this game against the Broncos to stay away from that bottom of the ladder and that dreaded wooden spoon. Thank you very much for listening to this game review of the Eels versus the Roosters. I really hope you have enjoyed it. And thank you very much for listening. And now I will just give a quick review of the Eels versus Tigers in the NRLW, which was played in round number 4 in the NRLW.
Hello, Paracave podcast listeners. My name is Shannon Cooney from Glenmore Park Realty and long-term sponsor of the Paracave podcast. If you're looking to sell your property or buy or just curious to know what your property is worth in today's market, give me a call today on 0421 588 445.
So round number 4 in the NRLW, and that game was played out at Campbelltown Stadium at 6:10 p.m, and it was a victory to the Eels, 12 points to 10. And look, it was a pretty interesting game. The first bit of it, the first start of it, the Tigers scored a try. What some would say what was a controversial try, I guess, in the first half, in the 3rd minute, to PO from the Tigers. So there was it looked like there was a bit of a obstruction. I think the hooker for Parramatta, the dummy half for Parramatta, the Todd Hunter, she was, it looked like she was impeded trying to make the tackle, Tanika Todd Hunter, and look, she eventually sort of landed on PO as she went down for the try, but I don't know. I believe she didn't have a fair crack at having a decent crack at trying to hold her up. So, look, a bit of a controversial one, I thought, there for the Tigers getting a try there, but it was awarded, it was confirmed, and the Tigers, they led early in the game. The Eels, they struggled a little bit. The Tigers were on top. The Eels had a few opportunities to get across the line. They spent a lot of time down towards the Tigers' line. It was until Monique Donovan scored in the 18th minute, and that was from a kick from Rachel Pearson. Bovetti Welsh, she unfortunately knocked the ball on, and it knocked onto her foot and into the arms of Monique Donovan, who went over and scored, which made the score 6-all, and that was the halftime score. So it was a low-scoring game. Obviously, 12 points to 10 is, and it was a game. It could have went either way, and the Eels, they held in there. They had opportunities. Kennedy Cherrington, congratulations to her. She played her 25th NRLW game. She was, I guess, the difference. She scored a try in the 56th minute, and Rachel Pearson converted after that try to Kennedy. So that was the winning try. The Tigers, they did score another try through Rebecca Pollard in the 60th minute, but the conversion was missed, so it was quite wide. It was out wide, I think it was. Rebecca Pollard, the winger for the Tigers, I think scored out wide, and unfortunately the conversion was missed, so unable to wrap the game up, and the Eels got away with the victory. So, look, I think it was very well played, and this Eels team is really different to the one, obviously, that played last year. The inclusions of Elsie Albert and Rachel Pearson, as I've mentioned in the last couple of weeks, is very different to last year, as those two didn't play a lot of football in this side. So I think they are making a big difference in this team. And look, I think Kennedy Cherrington as well, she had a massive game, 186 run metres, 39 tackles, 1 try. And look, another couple of other players that are really standing out for myself include Rory Owen. She has come of age, I think, in this game. Her debut season, 14 runs, 110 metres, but also Chloe Jackson as well in the second row, 7 runs, 93 metres, and she did have a line break as well, I think it was. Almost got a try, but just one of those players that really has... is a workhorse in this side and bit of an unsung hero, I think, in this side. Obviously, Captain Mahalia Murphy as well. She led from the front, and Abby Church at fullback. Again, there's no reason why she isn't number 2 in the Dally M's for the NRLW. She's having a great season this year for the Eels. 19 runs, 173 metres, 4 tackle breaks, and there was 1 tackle, a bit of a try-saver tackle as well on Tess Staines, I think it was, who was gunning for the try line, and Abby has just come over and taken her over the sideline, so it was a great fullback tackle there. I think you can probably see a little bit of similarity between herself and Clint Gutherson, I think. A real competitor at fullback there, and look, always wants to win, never gives in, always wants to win, never gives up, always trying very hard. She's taking those tough carries from dummy half down in Eels territory, and I just think, and that's why she's coming second in the Dally M race at the moment. So looking to the ladder, and the Eels, they are looking pretty good at the moment. They sit in 3rd spot on the NRLW ladder, which is an awesome result for them at the moment. After 4 rounds, they've had 3 wins, 1 loss, and that loss was against the Sharks, who last season beat them by 50-odd points, and this year it was only a 2-point loss to them. So they are probably the biggest improvers so far this season in the NRLW. That is for sure. Big game for them this week in round number 5, and I encourage all of you, if you are able to get to Eric Tweedle Stadium and show some home support for the Eels. It's their first home game of the year. If you can get there and it's against the Premiers, the Newcastle Knights, who have dropped down to 5th spot on the ladder now. So desperate times, I guess, for them. Jessie Southwell, unfortunately, their halfback won't be playing in this game after failing her HIA. So a big blow for the Newcastle Knights, but they are the back-to-back premiers, so they will be definitely hard to beat. For the Tigers, unfortunately, they sit last on the ladder in 10th. Unfortunately, haven't won a game this year. They've got a big job against them next week at Leichhardt Oval against the Brisbane Broncos, who are the form team at the moment. They've back-to-back wins, and they've got themselves into the top 4. So a big test for the Tigers. Look, in this last game, they were missing a few players, most notably Kezi Apps, who is out for the season, I think it is. So a big loss there for the Tigers. So this will be a big test against the Brisbane Broncos. But very good to see these games being the Eels winning these games. As I said, they've got a few debutantes they've been bringing through this year. Coach Steve Georgalis is doing a great job, has turned this team around from, I think they were second last year to the top 4, so in 3rd position. So I think that he is doing a really good job. I think the girls are really gelling well together. They have a good connection, and they are just really giving this premiership a really good red-hot crack. So this will be a great game. Unfortunately, it is on Saturday at 11 o'clock, so that is a little bit of a disappointment, and as my discussion with Kiana Takarangi with the NRLW Weekly Roundup, we were talking about that as well, about the timings of these games. So unfortunately, that is on at 11 a.m. on Saturday, the 24th of August at Eric Tweedle Stadium in Sydney. So that cannot be the best time for everybody, but if you can, please get there, show your support for the Eels at their first home game of the season. That would be great to see. And I believe in a couple of weeks' time at CommBank Stadium, they have a game against the Dragons coming up as well. So that'll be great to see. Next week, after this game against the Knights, that game against the Dragons is, I should say. So that 3 home games in a row for the Eels, starting at Eric Tweedle Stadium against the Knights, then at CommBank Stadium against the Dragons, and then at Eric Tweedle Stadium again against the Titans. So 3 very winnable games at home. So a very crucial period for the Eels NRLW side. So all the best in the game on Saturday against the Knights. That's the NRLW Eels vs Tigers review. Thank you very much for listening to the whole review of the men's and the women's. I hope you really appreciated that one. And I will be back next week. I think it will be a little bit later next week, as I'll be returning from Queensland, so stay tuned for that one. But thank you very much for listening. Please give it if you enjoy the content, support me on Instagram, give me a follow if you are not already. Tell your family and friends about it. Thank you very much for the support. I really appreciate it. And go Para!
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Para Cave Podcast. See you next time.